Citing examples that demonstrate a complete shaking up of a system or your organization's common practices might not be believable as the admissions team realizes the limited power you had. However, if you're part of a core team in a startup environment, mentioning such an example is ideal. For a large organization, the ethical dilemma could arise in 7 scenarios. Number 1, overbilling. If you took a stand and addressed the need to be fair in billing, the example would stand out. Offer the details of the project, the timeline, and the practices established in the company. An example where only a one-time objection was made should be avoided. Instead, choose such examples only if you have brought the systemic issue to the management and suggested solutions to accurately measure billable hours. Number 2, accounting. Depending on the accounting rules the company follows, borrowing from the future cash flow to demonstrate growth in the current year is a move that arises in 2 scenarios. 1, when a major funding round is pending, or in other cases when there is an acquisition. In some cases, a desperate few quarters could push the management to do strange things. If you were in accounting or leading the due diligence of an acquisition, the accounting practices would have become apparent. We had a client who took an influential board member to the side and shared the disturbing observation about the target company inflating foreign exchange transactions and the valuation of their assets. It was a done deal, but the financial professional understood that acquiring a culture of dishonesty could corrupt the parent company and invite unnecessary attention from the regulators. By discouraging the partnership, the applicant successfully persuaded the management to cancel the deal. There was a short-term loss, but he managed to save the company from future investigations and reputational harm. This aspect of the potential loss, either in reputational harm or regulatory and legal costs, should be highlighted to improve the believability of your story. As FNGMAT's lead consultant and interview specialist, I will help you script answers to the commonly asked interview questions for number 1, balance. Some of the best answers balance details with a larger vision, setbacks with wholesome endings, expertise with humility, and eagerness with confidence. The second collaborative milestone that I will help you with the interview prep is storytelling. I have developed a keen sense of storytelling from over a decade and a half of helping clients prepare for the most consequential interview in their lives. The skills that an interview specialist brings to the table are different from what a former admissions officer or a consultant who has limited coaching skills brings. If you want to work with me, Atul Jose, subscribe to FNGMAT's mock interview service at store.fngmat.com/mock-interview-service. The third aspect of the interview prep that I help you with is to demonstrate your fit with the school. Some schools have very specific traits that they want applicants to reiterate. Don't get tired of reiterating the narrative from your essays if it helps you reinforce your fit with the school. I will monitor and note down transitions and emphasize on certain traits that are essential to sell your fit with the school. I will also iteratively edit the script without losing your original voice. If you have any questions about FNGMAT's mock interview service, email me at editor@fngmat.com. Number 3, talent acquisition. For those who jump ships every 2 years, the hidden restrictions on poaching talent might go unnoticed. Fortune 500 companies discourage the active persuasion of their superstar performers. The decision to switch functions, industries, or roles or pursue MBA should be voluntary. Any hints of actively chasing talents trigger retaliation that has gone on to acquire an entire department. Applicants have shared the unusual approaches competing companies apply to get their attention. Contractors joining a Fortune 500 company is one such ethical violation. If you have an experience where offers came to your lap from your customers and you resisted, include them in your interview. Not all job offers from competing companies are bad, but job offers at a crucial phase to sabotage a project are examples that are clear signs of an ethical violation. Number 4, sustainable development goals. Greater good of the society is a differentiating marketing message that CEOs repeat to gain the loyalty of socially conscious customers. The real business practices of exploiting workers or the inhumane conditions in the many manufacturing hubs have not seen many drastic changes. However, a top-down social good approach in investments have begun not from a moral dilemma, but from the realization that harming the future customer is not a strategy that businesses could sustain for another 20 to 30 years. Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG, have integrated with profit goals through real-time measurement tools that establish year-on-year targets and monitor the impact on the environment and the society the project is serving. For projects in developing economies, clean water and sanitation, education, hunger management, gender equality, and climate action are some of the high priorities of sustainable goals. Any example where you are involved in establishing sustainable development goals or introducing the concept into decision making would help you stand out in admissions interview. An ethical violation I observed from a client was when she worked on sustainable development goals and observed that the management professional in charge of ESG was using a namesake metric with no real implication on cost and internal processes that would offer sustainable change. It was an ethical violation of the leadership's SDG goals to bring systemic change to the organization. The $20 million earmarked for the change was underutilized. She strategically raised the concern by building allies within the organization and developed a plan to bring the attention towards sustainable development goals. Once she began sharing the plan around, a senior leader with a passion for ESG shared the idea with an influential board member. That set in motion a framework to discard the namesake metric and incorporated measurable metrics for the change. Number 5, team politics. We all start as professionals in the lower rung of the machine. As we add hours to our experience, the management would have the confidence to assign us teams. The first learning curve is in communicating, motivating, and managing the schedules of each person to meet the project goals. Once you build the processes to manage a project and keep the customers happy, the management would assign the additional role of taking care of the careers of your team. If you are a transformative leader, the target would not be limited to the current organization, but what the person could truly achieve in 10 to 15 years. It might also involve switching companies, skill acquisition through short-term courses or an MBA, and pushing the person into projects with steep learning curve. One of our clients during a MOOC session shared how the project manager, driven by internal politics, created a false narrative about a rising star in the organization. The feedback was detrimental to the career of the person. The information was a misrepresentation of the candidate. The process that required collecting feedback from at least 5 of the 10 team members was overridden with a loophole in the 360-degree feedback that allowed the project manager to offer a final conclusion. The team was unanimous in noticing the ethical violation and supported the applicant's decision to send an anonymous tip to the leadership, escalating the ethical violation. The tip resulted in an internal investigation and the dismissal of the manager. Number 6, suppliers. Companies have mastered the art of leveraging talent and supplies from a global supply chain. With decentralized procurement of raw materials, the decision to purchase from one supplier or multiple suppliers could easily turn into a test of ethics. This is exactly what happened to an applicant who was in charge of revamping the supply chain processes in a boutique manufacturing firm. In a couple of days, he realized the deep corruption in the procurement of over 150 plus ingredients. A few suppliers were favored after initial quality checks. The diligence to repeat the quality check was willfully forgotten. The quid pro quo with international holiday tours for the procurement managers made the corruption obvious. The applicant designed processes that made it mandatory to make all the purchases to a committee. To ensure that the committee was not corrupt, he built in a mix of personnel in the committee from the top management, the family running the business, and a few managers with unblemished reputation. The ethical violation in making purchasing decisions stopped. Number 7, bribe or the good old lobbying. As with the change in society on how we use words and phrases that are inclusive, the words used to define an old malice have turned into the neutral term lobbying. Bribes or quid pro quo or designing a loophole in law only to benefit a few influential stakeholders have transformed into a complex, untraceable jargon. I had the privilege of working with a government official applying to Harvard who had to deal with such a nuanced ethical violation. One of the cases he had to handle was a lobbying effort from a technology giant that was targeting 3 amendments in the Senate. When one amendment had nothing to do with the operations or market share of the organization, it felt odd that the organization was spearheading an effort that seemed completely disconnected from their business. After building a database of all the business interests of the politicians, he was able to shortlist the person the amendment was benefiting. However, his efforts were thwarted by a senior government official citing as a no-go too powerful comment. He used that experience as the primary motivation to switch to a corporate role. Not all efforts to address ethical violations might be successful, and that is all right. Mention it in your interview to highlight the systemic challenges we face. As FNGMAT's lead consultant and interview specialist, I will help you script answers to the commonly asked interview questions for number one, balance. Some of the best answers balance details with a larger vision, setbacks with wholesome endings, expertise with humility, and eagerness with confidence. The second collaborative milestone that I will help you with the interview prep is storytelling. I have developed a keen sense of storytelling from over a decade and a half of helping clients prepare for the most consequential interview in their lives. The skills that an interview specialist bring to the table are different from what a former admissions officer or a consultant who has limited coaching skills brings. If you want to work with me, Atul Jose, subscribe to FNGMAT's mock interview service at store.fngmat.com/mock-interview-service. The third aspect of the interview prep that I help you with is to demonstrate your fit with the school. Some schools have very specific traits that they want applicants to reiterate. Don't get tired of reiterating the narrative from your essays if it helps you reinforce your fit with the school. I will monitor and note down transitions and emphasize on certain traits that are essential to sell your fit with the school. I will also iteratively edit the script without losing your original voice. If you have any questions about FNGMAT's mock interview service, email me at editor@fngmat.com.